I stepped into the family brunch with my kids. My dad looked right at me and said, "This day was going fine until now." My son turned to me and said, "Are we not wanted?" I kissed his head and said, "Let's go." That evening I made a decision. An hour later the group chat was in flames. I knew it would be awkward, but I didn't think it would go that bad. I mean, it was just brunch. Family brunch. My kids and I had been invited, same as everyone else. And yet the second I walked in with them, my son holding my hand, my daughter clinging to my side, my dad looked up from his plate, fork halfway to his mouth, and said it. This day was going fine until now. I stood there for a second like I'd just been slapped. My son looked up at me confused. My daughter blinked at the silence, sensing the tension like kids always do. No one moved. No one said a word to make it better. Not my brother Austin, who was busy refilling his mimosa. Not his fiancée, who looked amused. Not even my mom, who gave me this look that was half apology, half please don't start. My son tugged on my sleeve and whispered, "Are we not wanted?" That was it. I bent down, kissed his forehead and said, "Let's go." And we did. I didn't look back. Back in the car I sat for a while, both kids in the back seat quietly snacking on the granola bars I kept in the glove box. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel surprised. I felt tired. So tired of being the one who's supposed to be the bigger person, the understanding one, the dependable one. The one who writes the checks. That's the part they didn't want to talk about. Austin's wedding? I was covering at least half of it. Actually, more than that. I'd paid for the venue. A lakefront property that was way out of budget for him and his fiancée. I covered the cake, which they insisted be flown in from some bakery 3 states away. I even put down a deposit for the live band Austin just had to have. Thousands. I'd already spent thousands. And for what? I was doing it because they claimed they couldn't afford it and I wanted to help. I thought I was doing something kind. Thought maybe it would help patch up the mess of a relationship I'd always had with my dad. Thought it might make Austin see me differently, like someone who wasn't just the sister who got pregnant young and burdened the family. That night, once the kids were asleep, I opened the group chat. I stared at the messages already there from earlier that day. My mom had sent a picture of the brunch table before I arrived. Everyone's smiling. Plates full. Champagne flutes lined up. A perfect little scene. Except I wasn't in it. I started typing. Just to be clear, that comment this morning? Completely out of line. You don't get to insult me in front of my children. Not after everything I've done for this family. You've made it very clear where we stand. And Austin, I wish you the best with your wedding. But I won't be contributing any further. The venue balance, the band, the cake? You'll need to figure it out. I'm stepping back. And 5 minutes of silence. Then it started. Dad, are you serious right now? After everything we've planned? Austin, this is insane. You can't just drop out like that. We're relying on you. Fiancé, yeah, she chimed in. This is really unfair, Ashley. We thought you were doing this because you wanted to. Mom, I understand. That one stopped me for a second. She never chooses sides. Never says much at all. I didn't reply to any of them. Just turned off my phone and went to bed. But I knew this wasn't over. Not even close. By the time I opened my eyes the next morning, my phone was already vibrating with notifications. Group chat. Missed calls. Separate texts. It looked like the family had finally woken up to what I'd said, and what it meant. 16 messages. The first few were from Austin, fired off one after another like some kind of tantrum. We can't just rebook everything. You're seriously bailing now? Do you know how much stress we're under already? You're making this all about you. He didn't ask what happened. He didn't ask how the kids were. He didn't ask why. Just went straight to panic and blame. Then came the one from my dad. Long rambling. Started with something like, "You always have a way of making everything about you," and ended with, "This family bends over backward for you and it's still not enough." I stared at that message for a long time. Bent over backward? I laughed out loud. That man hadn't lifted a finger for me in years. He didn't help when my first husband walked out. He didn't show up when my daughter was in the hospital last winter. He didn't even send a card when I got my degree while raising 2 kids on my own. But he thought he was the victim because I decided I was done bankrolling a wedding for people who couldn't stand me. I didn't respond. I just got to work. I made a list. Venue. Band. Rentals. All in my name. All paid for by me. It was easier than I expected. The venue, a lakefront estate Austin had insisted on, was happy to cancel. I'd paid the deposit months ago, and the cancellation window hadn't closed. Full refund. The cake bakery had already designed a custom 4-tier almond buttercream monstrosity with gold foil and real flowers. Non-refundable? Not quite. The baking hadn't begun. Refund issued. The band was the only headache. Austin had picked a group that charged by the hour for rehearsals before the wedding day. Still, I had just enough pull with the booking agent to get them to drop the event with no additional charges. By 2 p.m. everything was undone. I took a walk around the block with the kids just to clear my head. My daughter skipped ahead, stopping to collect leaves. My son asked if we were still going to the wedding. I told him no. He just nodded and said, "Good. I don't want to go where people don't like us." It hit me harder than I expected. Back home I made a cup of tea, sat at the kitchen table, typed out a message in the group chat. Venue cancelled. Cake order refunded. Band dropped. You'll need to replace all of it. My financial involvement is over. I hit send. For a few minutes, nothing. Then came the eruption. "Austin, you can't do this. Are you insane?" His fiancée, "We trusted you. This is actual sabotage. Dad, this is pure cruelty. You're ruining your brother's wedding out of spite." My phone rang. I let it go to voicemail. My mom texted privately, "You did the right thing for yourself and your kids. I'm sorry you had to do it alone." That stayed with me, not because it made things better, but because it was the first time she'd acknowledged I had been alone. I didn't sleep well that night. Not because I felt guilty, I didn't, but because I knew this wasn't going to be the end of it. Austin had never been told no. Not by my parents. Not by anyone. And now, for the first time, someone had pulled the rug out from under him and told him he had to clean up his own mess. The next day my dad tried calling again. Left a message saying I was tearing the family apart for selfish reasons. He talked about how the wedding was not just about Austin, it's about all of us coming together. Right. Coming together unless I walk in with my kids. By the weekend, word had spread to a few cousins. I got 2 messages saying they were hearing some drama. I didn't answer. Let them hear whatever version Austin was spinning. But I wasn't hiding anymore. I'd spent too long trying to stay small just to keep things smooth. Now I was done shrinking. What none of them seemed to get was this wasn't about a wedding. It was about a little boy standing beside me, wondering why his grandfather didn't want him there. And if that meant the wedding didn't happen, so be it. The week after I pulled the plug, the air around everything shifted. No more begging. No apologies. Just cold, brittle silence. The kind that settles over people when they've decided you're now the problem. I went about my life, but the tension followed me everywhere. At school drop-offs. At work. In my own house. I kept checking over my shoulder, waiting for the next thing. It didn't take long. Wednesday morning I got a call from the old venue. The same woman who'd helped me with the cancellation. She said someone claiming to be me had called asking to reinstate the reservation. I asked if it was Austin. She paused, then said, "A man named Austin, yes." Sounded determined. I thanked her for the heads up and told her if he tried again, she should feel free to refer him to me directly. I hung up, shaking my head. They weren't even trying to hide it anymore. Just going around me like I didn't exist. Or worse, like I existed only when they needed something. By Thursday the group chat had gone weirdly performative. Austin posted a screenshot of the new venue, captioned, "It was meant to be." Some random backyard tent set up with folding chairs. The fiancé posted a story about resilience in the face of obstacles. My dad dropped a passive-aggressive quote about family unity being tested by selfishness. Not a single person acknowledged what had happened. Not a single person said my name. But they weren't handling it. Not really. Cousins started reaching out privately. Some with sympathy, some just fishing for gossip. One even asked if I was at least sending a gift. I deleted that message without replying. That Friday afternoon my dad showed up. I should have ignored the knock, but I didn't. I opened the door and there he was, arms crossed, face already full of blame. He walked in without being invited, like this was still his house. He got right into it. Said I was being childish. Said family means sacrifice. Said I was embarrassing him in front of relatives. Then he asked, like it was the most reasonable thing in the world, if I could at least give them half the original amount. Just to help cover the basics. He really thought I'd fold. I asked him, "Would you have asked Austin to pay for my wedding if I'd needed help?" He scoffed. "That wasn't the point, apparently. You're his sister. He's getting married. We all chip in." "No. I chip in." That stopped him for maybe 2 seconds. Then came the real part. The part one knew was coming. You don't have a husband right now. You don't have anyone else to worry about. You have the means. Don't make this harder than it has to be. That line. That disgusting, strategic line. It was always there, just under the surface. I didn't have a man, so I was disposable. A resource. A walking wallet. Useful until I stopped being convenient. I told him I wouldn't pay for a single napkin. Not now. Not ever. He said, "You'll regret this. You're isolating yourself." Then he left. And for the first time in years I didn't cry after an argument with him. I didn't question myself. I didn't spiral. I just locked the door and stood there quiet. The next day my mom showed up. She texted first. Brought soup like she used to when the kids were sick. Sat down like she wasn't sure if she was allowed to. She said, "He's not going to change, Ashley. You know that. He never will. Austin's his investment. You were just expected to manage on your own." Then she looked me in the eye and said, "I'm going to the wedding. But I'm not paying a cent. And I'm not pretending anymore." That was the first moment in weeks where I felt something close to steady. She stood up to go, then turned back and asked, "Are you sure you're okay on your own?" I told her, "I won't be for long." Because what they didn't know, what I hadn't told anyone yet, was that my husband was coming home early from deployment. A few weeks earlier than expected. He texted 2 days ago. Said he couldn't wait to see us. Said he'd be back before the wedding. And he knew everything. The guest list was shrinking. The backup venue was booked but falling apart. The tension in the group chat was rising every day. They thought they'd backed me into a corner. But the truth was I had one last card to play. And I was just getting started. I didn't tell anyone he was back. Not right away. He landed on a Monday evening. I picked him up from the base while the kids were at school, and when I saw him walking toward me in that uniform with his bag over his shoulder and that smile, I swear it felt like a dam inside me cracked open. I hadn't let myself collapse until then. In the car he asked about everything. I gave him the unfiltered version. No softening, no skipping details. I told him about the brunch, the comment, the wedding, the money, my dad showing up to shake me down like some business deal gone cold. The silence afterward. He listened, quiet the whole time. When I finished he looked at me and said, "They really think you're alone, huh?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. He moved his stuff back into the house, helped the kids with homework like he'd never left, and by the next morning it was like he'd been there all along. But the part they weren't ready for, the part one was almost excited to let happen, was that they had no idea he was home. That week I said nothing. Let the group chat continue its slow implosion. Austin was panicking over vendors not returning calls. The fiancé posted another Instagram story that felt more like a cry for help than anything bridal. Something about letting go of what you can't control. The real twist came Wednesday night. A mutual family friend, one of those cousins who likes to float between both sides, forwarded me a screenshot of a GoFundMe page. The title, "Help Us Rebuild Our Dream Wedding After Family Betrayal." I laughed out loud. Actually laughed. Austin had set it up. The goal was 10 grand. The story was vague enough to avoid calling me out directly but specific enough that anyone who knew our family would know exactly what it was about. Phrases like unexpected loss of major support, family member backed out last minute, and my favorite, we're just trying to celebrate love in a world full of bitterness. They were trying to crowdfund their way out of the hole I left. And honestly, I would have let it slide. Almost did. Until my son saw it. He was playing a game on my iPad when a notification popped up. Someone I followed had shared the GoFundMe. He opened it, read the title and brought it to me. He didn't even say anything, just handed it over. He recognized his uncle's photo. That's when something in me clicked. All the quiet restraint I'd been clinging to, gone. I showed my husband. He didn't say a word, just pulled out his phone and said, "Time to introduce myself again." The next day the group chat came alive with a new member. My husband. He hadn't spoken to any of them directly since before his deployment. But now he dropped into the chat like a wrecking ball. His first message. "Hi everyone. I've been filled in on everything. I'm home. Ashley's not alone. Let's clear a few things up." Then he posted screenshots. The venue refund, the cake order cancellation confirmation, even the email from the band. He laid out everything I had covered, paid for and cancelled. Then he added, "We will not be contributing to this wedding. Further attempts to guilt, manipulate or publicly defame my wife or our children will be dealt with accordingly." The chat went silent for nearly 10 minutes. Then the floodgates opened. Austin freaked first. Accused me of hiding behind my husband. Said I was playing victim. Then he tried to spin it as a misunderstanding. My dad? He tried to double down. Said this wasn't my husband's business. That he didn't understand the family dynamics. My husband replied with just 4 words. "Return the money. Now." Then he added, "Or we'll handle it in court." Silence. 20 minutes later my dad messaged privately. He said he'd send me a check. But it was too late for that. The GoFundMe was reported by multiple people. Taken down. Word got out. Some of the extended family started asking questions. Apparently Austin's fiancé's side of the family hadn't known anything about the drama. Until now. And they weren't happy. Vendors started pulling out again. A caterer bailed. The photographer they tried to replace mine with, canceled too. Everything was falling apart. Me. I didn't lift a finger. The wedding was 10 days away. And now it wasn't just about me anymore. It was about who they underestimated. The wedding was 5 days away when it all started to unravel for good. At that point, I wasn't even checking the group chat anymore. My husband had muted it and I didn't care enough to unmute it. The silence from my dad and Austin wasn't some kind of strategic distance. It was them hoping if they ignored the fallout long enough, someone else would step in and fix it for them. They were wrong. This time no one was coming. My husband had spent the past week helping the kids build a treehouse in the backyard, and I hadn't seen him this content in months. Every now and then he'd glance at his phone and shake his head. He didn't say much about them unless I asked, which I rarely did anymore. The man knew restraint better than anyone I'd ever met, but I could see it, that fire burning right under the surface. He didn't get angry often, but when he did, it was surgical. The first real sign of the collapse came when the venue, the second backup one they scrambled to book, called me. That was the last thing I expected. Apparently, Austin had named me as the original financial point of contact. I almost laughed. They were trying to lean on my name after publicly dragging me and trying to paint me as unstable? The woman on the phone was polite but concerned. The payment deadline had passed. Balance overdue. I asked if they had a waitlist for that date. She said yes. 2 other couples wanted it, one offering to pay in full that same day. I said one sentence. If Austin or anyone in that party doesn't pay, give the date to someone else. She thanked me and hung up. I didn't warn anyone. Not a single message to the group chat. No calls. I didn't even tell my mom. Let them figure it out when the confirmation didn't come. By the next morning, the fallout had begun. Austin texted me directly for the first time since the group chat explosion. No hi. No, can we talk? Just one long message about how irresponsible it was of me to interfere with other people's commitments. He actually wrote, "This day was supposed to be about us. You've made it about you." That sentence broke something in me. Not the hurt kind of break, the clean kind. The final one. I'd been holding on to a fraying thread of family obligation, but that line snapped it clean in two. The kid who used to share my cereal box and crash into my room for video game marathons was long gone. This man, this entitled, smug version of a brother, wasn't someone I owed a single thing. I didn't answer him. My husband did. He wrote, "Don't ever contact Ashley again. If you have unpaid balances, be an adult and handle them yourself." I saw the 3 dots appear, disappear, and reappear. Then nothing. No reply. Later that evening, one of the cousins called me. She was breathless, gossipy, always 2 steps behind the rest of the family drama. She said the wedding had been officially cancelled. The venue had given the date to another couple. Apparently, Austin's fiancé's parents were furious. They'd invited over 100 people and now had no event, no location, no catering, no music, and no plan. The Facebook post went up that night. Due to an unfortunate series of logistical challenges, we are postponing our wedding celebration to a future date. We appreciate your support and understanding during this time. Logistical challenges. That's what they called me. People started messaging me. Mostly the quiet ones, the extended family members who'd been on the sidelines. A few apologized for not speaking up earlier. One aunt told me I'd set an example. Another said, "I wish I'd had your spine when I was your age." But the message that stayed with me was from a woman I barely knew, a distant cousin of Austin's fiancé. She said, "I don't know you well, but I saw what they tried to do. I hope you never let them near your kids again. Some people only see love when it costs them nothing." I didn't respond. I just stared at that message for a while. 2 days after the Facebook post, I ran into my mom at the grocery store. I almost didn't recognize her, not because she looked different but because she looked free. No makeup, hair pulled back, wearing sandals in December. She walked right over and hugged me. She said, "I told him I was done." I didn't ask who. I already knew. She told me she wouldn't be moving out right away, but she was separating the finances, starting therapy, that she'd canceled a few subscriptions in my dad's name and it felt like cutting a leash. Then she whispered, "He still blames you. And Austin does too. But I don't. I see it now." She teared up. I didn't. Later that night, my husband took the kids out for ice cream and came back with a framed photo of us from 5 years ago. The 4 of us, arms linked, standing in front of a cheap beach motel, sunburned and happy. He said, "They'll never understand what we've built. Because they never had to build anything themselves." The next morning, the final message from my dad arrived. It said, "We're done. Don't reach out again." I showed it to my husband. He smiled. Perfect. The message from my dad came in the middle of a regular Tuesday. Just 8 words, "We're done. Don't reach out again. Goodbye." I read it. I waited for something to hit, a rush of guilt, sadness, doubt, but it didn't come. I felt blank. Not numb, just clean. Like when you finally closed the last box after moving out of a place that stopped feeling like home a long time ago. I showed it to my husband while we were making dinner. He just nodded and went back to chopping onions like it was the final item on a to-do list. But 2 days later my husband got the voicemail. It was my dad. His voice was different. Not angry, not aggressive, just deflated. Like he'd finally realized the grip he had on me was gone and wasn't coming back. He asked to speak man to man. Said he didn't want to fight. Then came the real reason. He was open to discussing terms about the money. As if everything that had happened was just a bad business transaction, and we could settle it with a handshake. My husband didn't call back. He sent a short text. Send Ashley the full amount. Do not contact her again. If you don't, we'll see you in court. No threats. No emotion. Just facts. 3 days later a check arrived in the mail. No letter. No memo. Just the exact amount I'd paid for the wedding, down to the cent. I stared at it for a while. I didn't feel triumphant. If anything, it made the whole thing sadder. All those years of trying to earn his respect, all the hours I'd spent convincing myself this family would eventually see me, and it ended with a check. I deposited it and didn't say a word to anyone. The original wedding date came and went. No photos, no mentions. A few of Austin's friends posted beach pictures and tagged locations nowhere near the failed venue. No one acknowledged it directly, but silence has a way of saying everything. A few days later, someone sent me a screenshot of Austin's fiancé's latest post. Just a glass of red wine and a caption that said, "Some endings are necessary." No wedding hashtag. No ring in sight. I didn't reach out. Neither did they. My mom stayed close. True to her word, she didn't try to patch things up. She didn't defend my dad or Austin. She didn't pretend anything could go back to how it was. She just kept showing up. With food. With help. With silence when I needed it. And for the first time in years she felt like my mother again. One night, after the kids had gone to bed, she and I sat in the living room while my husband was out back with the dog. She looked around the house for a minute and said, "It's peaceful here." I never had that in my own home. I didn't answer. I just passed her the tea I'd made. We didn't talk about them anymore. Not Austin. Not my dad. It was like they existed in a different orbit now, and I had no intention of crossing back into it. That weekend my husband and I took the kids on a surprise road trip. Just a few hours away, nothing fancy. A small cabin near a lake, no reception, no email, no noise. My son skipped rocks until he was out of breath. My daughter tried to catch frogs. We sat by the fire roasting marshmallows and my husband leaned over and whispered, "This is what a family feels like." I think I finally believed him. Because after all the noise, the guilt, the games, this was it. A family that didn't ask me to shrink. A family that didn't treat my love like a transaction. A family that didn't need to be earned or bought or performed. My dad was right about one thing. We were done. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me.